All right, let's talk some shit. Take that, algorithm. Yep, today we're talking about this shit hell. We're gonna see where it fits in the lineup versus like the Fulla 2, the Fulla 3, and the Magni Modi stack. We're also gonna look at it versus the Mayflower Arc Mark II since we just looked at that recently. You ready? Let's go. Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching Bad Seed Tech, and today we're looking at the Hell Gaming DAC Amp from Shit Audio. Am I saying that right? The term gaming DAC amp paints a certain type of picture, but don't let that fool you. Retailing for $189, the Hell is built tough, it's got a great aesthetic, and some serious power output to boot. For specs, we're looking at 32-bit, 192 kilohertz, frequency response of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, with 1.2 watts of power at 16 ohm, 1 watt at 32, 650 milliwatts at 50 ohm, and 200 milliwatts at 300 ohm. So in terms of power output, we're missing some direct comparative data between this and the Mayflower Arc II, but we can draw some conclusions based on the info that we do have that the power output looks pretty similar. Inside the box, we've got the unit, a 1/4-inch adapter, a generic Y splitter that definitely doesn't fit the look, a USB wall plug, and 2 USB cables, both USB-A to micro USB. So one of these cables will run from the unit to the PC, and the other is gonna run from the wall plug to provide power. This is where we get into some important distinctions. When I saw the Hell online, I thought it would be really similar in size to this little guy. This is the Fulla 2. Obviously, it's about 2.5 times as big. There is a Fulla 3 now, and it changes the game a little bit. They have similar concepts, small contained DAC amps, but the Fulla 2 has more flexible outputs of the two and doesn't have a mic in, where the Fulla 3 adds a mic in and loses that fixed level output. Both units have the ability to control powered speakers using the volume knob on the Fulla itself, and both have separate inputs for power. This is a big one. The Fulla will function off bus power and will only leach power from the host device if you're running off bus power. That means over the USB cable. If you plug in power, it stops leaching the host, but it still functions. The Hell needs both USB connections in place at all times to function. It's not gonna run just off bus power, but the power output of the Hell is considerably more than the Fulla. Hell's output ranges from like 3 to 4 times the Fulla, depending on the ohm load. All right, I admit that was a little all over the place. Big takeaways so far: Hell is bigger, it's stronger, it requires 2 USBs all the time because it needs a constant power supply. It also has a 1/4-inch out on the front panel, as well as a low gain, high gain switch for headphones that need a little more juice. Low gain is there to give you really quiet operation with IEMs. Works great. You've also got a switch for input select to toggle between the USB and the 3.5mm aux input on the rear. Also on the front panel, you've got your mic input as a 3.5mm jack, and something I rarely see and absolutely love, a physical mic level adjustment with a nice smooth pot. This means if you're coming in a little hot or low, you don't have to go back to your system settings in Windows to experiment with an ideal mic level. This is locked at 24-bit 48 kilohertz, which I also rarely see. It's a pretty solid job here. You're hearing Windows volume at 70 and the physical volume knob at like almost 3 o'clock or like almost 75%. The vocal here for me sounds pretty clear and detailed, maybe not as full as I would like it, and there is some noise on the input. It's weird, when you plug this thing in for the first time, it defaults the Windows microphone level to 54. It did this on both systems I plugged it into to test, and I did spend a lot of time trying to find a sweet spot between the Windows mic level and the mic level adjust on the front of the unit, trying to alleviate that noise. Nonetheless, it's still there. On this system, maybe a little worse than the system in the other room. You are hearing this on a Mod Mic 5 set to Omni, by the way. Compared to the Arc Mark II, we have a very similar tonal quality. Surprisingly similar. If anything, I think the Arc presents just a touch fuller. There's a little more bass in the vocal. It's also important to note that this is like Windows volume of 90, and there's no external volume adjustment whatsoever on the Arc. So the Hell has significantly more mic overhead than the Arc, which is not surprising since the Arc is running completely off bus power. But with similar output levels, I think the input on the Arc sounds much cleaner. I love the physical implementation of the dial adjust on the front of the Hell, but in terms of quality versus quality, even with the Arc locked at 1648 versus 2448 on the Hell, I gotta give the overall mic quality to the Arc. The main volume knob is buttery smooth. There's no real resistance here, and it's dead silent, unlike my Fulla 2, which has a little audible static on volume adjust. On the rear panel, you've got your power switch, USB power in, USB data in, variable 3.5-inch output to a powered speaker set, and the 3.5mm aux in. Notably missing, RCA line outputs, optical input. In terms of internals and components, we've got the AKM AK4490 DAC chip. I don't really get into arguing the merits of different DAC chips because a lot of it depends on the implementation, and when you're looking at a self-contained DAC amp unit like this, a lot of the sound quality has more to do with the amp portion than it does the DAC portion. But it's the same DAC chip you're gonna find in their standalone DAC, the Modi 3. If you're the kind of person that's shopping for a unit at this price point, I doubt very seriously you're going to be disappointed with any of the audio quality here at all. In fact, the Hell performs very well. It comes across as musical with plenty of power to drive a really wide variety of headphones. It also just looks really nice on the desk. It's not as full-featured or as portable as something like the Mayflower Arc 2, but it strikes a really good balance of features, sound quality, and price point. I think it's easier to get a gamer excited about something at the sub $200 mark versus higher priced units. Understand too that neither of these solutions will mix audio from different sources. It's gonna be a select one or the other type thing, so you can't listen to music on your phone while you have game audio going on the different channel. It's not any fault of shit, but I'm really not a fan of the gaming DAC amp label in general, because in its most basic state, it means you have a mic in. In a different interpretation, you may gain access to features like simulated 7.1, side tone, chat mix, on-the-fly EQ adjustments, and you're not gonna get anything like that here. Same with the Arc or the Fulla 3, or even something extremely high-end like the Burson Playmate. You're limited to offerings from like Creative or Sennheiser, which have drawbacks of their own. And now that add-on mics are becoming more versatile, USB, wireless, etc., you also have to ask how important it is to even have a mic input on your DAC amp solution anyway. For instance, the Schiit Magni Modi stack, a very popular configuration, will run you only about $30 more with cables. You're losing a mic in, but you're gaining even more power output, a lot more, capable of driving literally just about any headphone to their potential, and it's gonna offer a little more flexibility so that can function as the centerpiece of your entire desktop audio setup. And that's kind of just where we are right now with the DAC amp situation in general, and specifically Schiit's lineup. You could purchase anything I've talked about today, and as long as it fits your needs and your specific goals for your setup, you really can't go wrong. Sound quality will be solid across the board, build quality is impeccable, heavy duty cases, switches that feel substantial, and a really solid aesthetic. I've been continually impressed with their offerings, though I haven't really worked my way up to their high-end stuff yet. The Fulla is gonna be your low-cost option if you need something portable or you're not gonna require as much power, whereas the Hell can easily handle something like 250 ohm Bayer Dynamics, the K7XX, any Sennheisers, and even demanding planar headphones from the likes of like HiFiMAN and Mr. Speakers. Advantages of the Arc, well, portability is the big one. Clean a mic in, super small footprint, additional input-output flexibility, but it's priced about $80 higher. Outside of that, the Hell is strong, sexy and utilitarian all at the same time. Worth noting too that the Mayflower has no variable output with the RCAs. They're fixed line out, requiring all volume adjustments to take place on the speakers or the amp, whereas the volume knob on the Hell will control the volume level of your speakers. The Arc offers bass DSP, the Hell does not. You just kind of get what you get. Luckily, what you get sounds very good. You can't really go wrong with either one. It just basically comes down to budget and application. The only features really I'd like to see to improve the Hell would be to have a way where it could operate with reduced power output going just off the USB bus, and then when you plugged in the secondary USB power, it unlocked additional power output. That would greatly improve the portability of this unit. I'd also like to see side tone or some kind of zero latency monitoring off the mic in. It's kind of like what you'd see on a mixer board, but you hardly ever see it on products like this. Still though, build quality, sound quality, power output, and rugged good looks at $189, this is a winner. This is a clean, instant upgrade to your audio, and I can't see anyone feeling buyer's remorse about picking this up. Great shit. As always, links to everything we talked about down in the description. Any questions over anything I covered today, hit me in the comments or drop by the Discord. I did want to sneak this out before the DAC amp overview, which is going to be a two-parter, and you'll see part one come out in just a few days. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up.